So, hello, my name is Nina. It is March 27th, 2015. Um, now, do we again have permission to do this interview? And did you sign the consent form?
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Can you please talk to me about your family of origin and your early development?
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland in August 1944. My parents were city folks, but they moved out to Carroll County, Maryland when I was 2 years old. And for the most part of my first 28 years, I lived in a rural environment, sort of like on farms, in different places. Um, you know, I'm hearing impaired severely. I'm tone deaf. I have, unfortunately, it's inherited. So I have family members that actually are deaf mute and sign to communicate. So my environment was different in that aspect. As a kid, I thought, I don't know if it's the right word or not, but illit. It was very like a dreamlike state of growing up, because most of the time, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but my parents kind of ignored me because they were, busy with their activity in their life. And so most kids, you tend to keep busy doing things that you're curious about, so.
And how was school for you growing up, being hearing impaired?
Well, considering I was missing half of what everybody else was listening or hearing, most people find it amazing that I even gone through school the way I did, because I didn't have the help that the children, like my children and grandkids, have today with Lincoln Intermediate School, helping people, and they're very aware of the hearing problem. So yeah, it was quiet. I had a quiet world, if you would. And then one of the things I did do, I know this is not in your question, but as I was going along, I kind of didn't know that I was different as far as my hearing, and I learned to read lips to compensate for what I was not hearing, so.
Do you have any siblings?
Pardon?
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have two sisters. One 2 years older than I am, and she's normal hearing and everything. And I have a 13-year-old sister, younger, and she's also normal hearing and everything.
And was growing up with them a good experience for you?
I wouldn't say it's bad, but like I said, because of what I was missing, not realizing when people were conversing with me, I probably didn't respond oftentimes the way they would expect a normal hearing person would, And then with my 13-year-old, because there is a bit age difference, I was more like her babysitter, So we had a lot of nice memory together, as she was growing up.
Good. Did religion play a role in your childhood at all?
No, not really. My parents were Episcopalian, and with their pursuit of happiness, they went through different changes of religion, denomination, and so I wound up to be a brethren. So no, not really. Not up to a certain point.
Could you discuss with us a little bit of your occupational history, any jobs that you have had in the past, or any organizations that you have worked with or are currently working with?
Sure. I started out, fortunately my dad was a maintenance supervisor for Head Ski Company in Timonium, Maryland. And he offered me, because of my teenage year, I was restless and all, to mow their lawn around the company. So out of the money that I was paid for this job, I bought myself what they call a Gravely tractor. and it's one of those heavy-duty mowers, grass mowers.
Okay.
And actually, it does a lot more than that, but basically that's what I did with it, So I actually cut the lawn of the founder at Head Ski Company, Mr. Head, and did that briefly until I worked there. My dad got me in for Head Ski, and we made aluminum ski. At the time, we were one of the largest manufacturers of aluminum ski back in that time. Head Ski now, you see the little symbol in tennis and other places, so it's rather popular. That was my first 2 years of working. I went because of the distance we were traveling. I moved or gone to Black & Decker in Hampstead, Maryland, and I worked there for 10 years. So I started at the packaging department, and I went and worked myself into the cool crib, where you delivered stuff to the other departments, And then I got to be doing what they call a utility man, in the sense that I was able to replace anybody in our department and do their job when they're out. So I was very versatile in doing that. After Black & Decker, in the process, I got married, and my wife at the time, she worked for social service. So she, realizing my handicap, got me to the Office of Rehabilitation in Harrisburg, but they sent me to the Your Technical Institute to learn a trade and to help better my life. So I got a hearing aid, and I went to a speech therapist. So I really came out of a nutshell, if you will, at that period of life. I think most hearing person, when they, I didn't hear the sound of the soda fizz or snack, crackle, and pop in the cereal, or a bird or a telephone. I missed out on that. And when I got my hearing aid, I could hear myself breathe for the first time. People can't visualize or relate to that, unless you had that experience, So that was really a great forward step for me. So after I went to the YTI, they asked me to stay there because they liked my personality and how I related with people. And so I worked there for 2 years. And they were located at the time at Richland Avenue. So they since moved, and I think they're at Mount Zion Road in York. So from there, I went to a company called FES, which is Freezing Equipment Sales. And at the time, but they have since been bought out, and it's called Gaia now. But they're still the refrigeration company, and I worked for there for 30 years. And that's when I retired, forcibly so, because they went in 2008, everybody was going through a hard time, with economic and stuff. So a bunch of us had to retire, which I did. So I retired for 5 years, and now I'm currently working part-time as a custodian for the South York School District in York County.
Thank you. How is your relationship with your wife? Could you describe that a little bit for me?
Sure. Well, may as well go in the beginning, because in the beginning, when I met her, I was also having a relationship with a guy. But because of the time frame of the era, being gay was considered an illness and a sickness. And I thought the way I was doing things, I wanted to be straight, just and normal like everybody else, So my process is I had some girlfriends, and one of my girlfriends introduced me to Evelyn as we were in Sportsman Hall, roller skating, and that's how we met. and I liked what I saw her qualities. So I became more interested, and for 8 months we went together, and I proposed to her after 8 months. We got married. Married for 28 years. And it was kind of, I would say it was an okay marriage, simply because, like I say, I was trying to be straight and live a normal life. Problem here was she was a Catholic, and she was also, before she met me, she was almost becoming a nun. So here we have a nun, and here we have a gay man, you know. So, I mean, it was an interesting conversation, match. She was a real nice person in my life, and I give her a lot of credit for improving my quality, okay? And since I ended the marriage, we have actually become closer as friends. So, which is kind of with the help, I think, of my two daughters, that helped her understand my situation, you know. So.
Thank you. Could you discuss how your experiences coming out, not only to your wife, but to your friends and family were?
That was hard. But it was amusing, because the trigger to all that was, I had, at the time, this was toward the end of our marriage, at the time I was seeing a guy. And my son, at the time, had a lot of gay friends. Well, it just so happened, one night I wanted to spend with my friend, and I saw my son's car there. So I said, no, this is not a pretty picture. So I figured, this is stupid living this lie. I said, I have to just stop it, this charade, because of what it was. So my children were told first. I told them first. And it was hard. I mean, you know, it's amazing what one word, how it changed your life forever. The word being gay. Because they saw me as a father figure, and you know, they had all their expectation until I came out. And so I told them, as soon as I told them, I went down to my mom, told her. She was really being this generation gap. I thought she handled it really well. And she just said, well, you know, as much as, you know, I don't understand it at the time, she said, I still love you. That really, you know, I mean, you know, you just break down and cry, you know, and because, I mean, you know, and my dad was already passed away at the time, so. And when I did this, I was in my mid-50s. That was kind of different than coming out when you're very young and still have life ahead of you, you know. Yeah, as far as my older sister, I was kind of disappointed because she's college educated, and I always look up to her, and I admire her to what she has accomplished in her life. And she had this degree in, I think it's something education, teaching kids, you know. Anyhow, I was kind of disappointed in the sense that she said, you know, then why you even, you know, she said, well, why are you even married? And then she said, well, don't tell my kids about it. I said, okay, you know, just to accommodate her. Now, I haven't, my younger sister I mentioned about, I haven't said anything to her because of her religion upbringing. You know, she's a Mennonite. Not knocking it, but you have to understand how narrow-minded and or closed-minded they are in relation to anything out of the norm.
And so you said you have two daughters and one son?
Yes.
Okay, so 3 children in total?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's your connection to the LGBTQ community in Pennsylvania?
Well, actually, I got started with that in one of my coworkers. Just out of the blue, when I was leaving work, I have an equal sign on my bumper. And this engineer, he approached me and I rolled my window down and he said, "Hey, I'm kind of curious, what's the equal sign for?" And so I kind of looked at him and I thought, I said, well, here he is, so I just put it out there, well, I'm gay, and I'm just letting people subtly know, I'm gay friendly. He said, "Oh, well, I belong to P-Flat up in Mechanicsburg." And his son was to get married, and he said, "Well, I have a son who's gay. He's out, has a partner now." And he said, "I'd like for you to join us and tell you your story." So I did. I went up to Mechanicsburg. They meet in a church there, Presbyterian church, I think, and on Simon Street. And I told them my story, and it was really nice to know that even though they're parents of children who are gay and came out, they still accepted me, and I really felt comfortable that I wasn't the quirk, if you will. So that's how, as I've gotten older, I'm becoming more vocal with it. So.
Do you have any grandchildren?
I have 5.
5 grandchildren. How is your relationship with each of them?
Well, the oldest, Kurt, he's from my son-in-law's first marriage.
Okay.
But he's okay with it, And I have 4 of the other ones are my biological one. And they're too young to understand the situation, even though my 13 and 11-year-old, or 12, 10, whatever, I forget what it says, but anyhow, they're just finding out granddad's gay, So yeah, okay, I haven't heard anything more from my daughter about it. She deals with it, and I know my daughter is comfortable with it. My son-in-law is comfortable with it. So.
Do you have any military background?
No.
No?
I'm considered what they call 4F because of my hearing disability.
Okay.
And a neat little story, if I may, is
Yes.
The first time I went down to Fort Heiliger in Maryland, and to get tested, because back then you had to make yourself aware that you were eligible to go into the service. So this was back in the early 60s when the Vietnam War was going on. So the first time I went down to Heiliger, I cheated on my hearing test because they all got us, which is really silly, because they got us all in a room. The guy on the other side of the room whispered numbers, and we were supposed to do the numbers. So I couldn't hear any of what he was saying. So I just figured I'd do whatever they're doing. So I just watched their fingers and all. So that was the first time we went down. So finally, I got my letter I was drafted in the war. So again, go down to Heiliger, but this time they put me in a booth where they test you electronically to see if you can hear. Well, I failed, but nobody told me about it. So I spent the whole day there, just waiting around, thinking I'm going to be enlisted. So I finally get called up to the desk by this Sergeant LeMay. And he said, "Sit down." So I sat down. I thought, boy, I'm in trouble. So he said, "What are you doing here?" And that was just the way he responded. I said, "Well, I thought I'm joining the Army." He said, "No, you failed your hearing test. Didn't anybody tell you?" I said, "No, all the doctor said to me when I walked out was, 'I'll see you later, son.'" So I took that to mean my pass. So that's the story of that. Spent one whole day,
No, that would annoy me. Okay. Are you currently in a relationship now?
No.
No?
No. I had one, but I don't want to, you want me to explain on that or not?
If you'd like to.
Yeah, after I came back out in 1999, I had a relationship in 2004, 2006. He died of cancer on the pelvis bone and esophagus. And I watched him 3 months dying down in Baltimore, Maryland. So, but he was an incredible person. And yeah, that's the serious relationship I had with a guy. But I had other briefly, but we have become friends on the other relationship.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Does your identity as a gay man influence or affect any other aspect of your life, like political or social?
You want to repeat that again, please?
Does your gay identity as a man influence or affect any other aspect of your life, as far as like political or social?
Yes, definitely. One of the things I've learned to do I'm actually an introvert. I know you're going to find that hard to believe, but I've learned early on to become noticed and or engaging into any other group. I had to put myself out there. So actually, I work part-time for Auckland Ranch down in Thomasville. They offered me that position to work at the doors to collect money and count, and I took it because I wanted to put myself out there. And like I say, I joined PFLAG. I've since dropped out of it because it had, I guess, for lack of a better word, I don't find any youthfulness out of it anymore to help my cause, because I feel like because they're youth-oriented, because of their kids, and at my age, I see the vast difference where we're supposed to disappear and be invisible to the rest of gay culture. So, yeah, my activity now is mainly gay-related, gay friends. I have very little social contact other than my youngest daughter, who I have breakfast every Saturday morning with. I don't interact with my grandkids because I'm a lousy granddad because I'm actually living my gay life. I don't know if you can understand that or not, but yeah, that's how it does. So I can't interact with like my younger sister because of their religious belief, because once the cat's out of the bag, I know that would either she'll shun me or, I really don't know what that would be. It's the unknown, but at the time I don't want to go there,
No, I definitely appreciate the courage and bravery it takes to stay true to yourself in the face of adversity. So.
Yeah, because one of the big things that I've been getting very active, I've been going through the Harrisburg Center on 3rd Street, and they have what they call the Senior Citizen Initiative program for luncheon, doing the 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock every second Thursday in the month. And I've been putting myself out there simply because there's really no activities or no jail for older gay and lesbian people to get together, and we're pretty lonely out there, if you don't connect.
Can you talk to me a little bit about if any people that you knew, or if you had any friends that were affected by the HIV or AIDS epidemic?
I think all of our friends, whether they were straight or gay, were affected one way or the other, especially back in the 80s. It was stunning the way it developed, and it was more stunning the way people react to it. Because I remember where they had the quilt thing on the Washington D.C. lawn, back then, and it was really moving, and even still, we got to be reminded that we got a long way to go as far as safety and, being smart about who we are, So.
So have you seen any changes since the 80s? Any positive changes since the 80s?
Oh my gosh, even when I was a kid, I was aware that it was different when I was like 11, 12, 13 years old. But because, I don't want to say this in a bad way about myself, but because I was considered slow and retard back then, but I was smart enough to realize I had to keep this subject matter to myself and just investigate, research, or whatever I did to gain more knowledge of why I behave the way I do. Because from that time period, we're talking in the 50s and 70s, until the drug, partying came around, in the 60s and 70s, it was pretty sedated, you just didn't say anything about that back then. So as a matter of survival, like I say, I did research until I got married, and then I had to put everything on hold because I wanted to live a normal life. But then after a certain time, when I knew this wasn't really being myself, I kept, again, renewing my research to try to find out why I behave the way I behave. So yes, there's been a lot of improvement, but I think one of the roadblocks that we have now is people ignorant and they're close-minded. Especially, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but on the religion's right. Because I think oftentimes we get so ingrained in their belief system that if anything questions it and it becomes unstable, then there's no justification for your existence. And that's why I think it's so hard for people to understand where we're coming from, simply because one of the main things I always compare with is gay issue is so hard to understand because you can't see it. It's in the mind, it's in the heart and the soul. It's not like the black and the white back in the 50s, 60s, or the woman's right. Because you can identify it, you can see this up front. It was something you could connect to real fast. But when somebody talks about, oh, well, I'm gay, where is it? They can't see it. So you have to explain this and keep on talking and talking and talking, so. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it definitely does. Were you involved in any protests for LGBT rights? Or
actually, yes and no. DC, I had, when I joined the people at in Mechanicsburg, and the guy, we went down to DC. I think it was part of the Marriage Act back then, to try to get it rolling, and or to get it right. I forget what the real issue was, but yeah, it was cool. It was one of the best days of my life to be able to feel like, oh my God, look, they come in all different sizes and shape and colors, and it was just fantastic. It was phenomenal, so yeah, it was neat. Yeah.
Are there any important events or turning points in your life that are affecting you currently today?
Well, that I came out, the ripple effect to that is I'm still dealing with family members that doesn't know because it's hush-hush, and we really don't talk about it because nobody really wants to understand it, because it's about life. Let's face it, life is about conformity in the sense that if you don't fit in, they don't want you in your group, belief, friend, whatever, you know, like at work, or that makes sense. So.
And at the senior group, I'm sorry, it's called the Senior Initiative?
Yeah, the Senior Citizen Initiative luncheon every second Thursday at the center.
Has
And
that been beneficial?
oh my God, yeah, because it allows me to express myself and the frustration I have for most of today's society and knowing our age bracket. Because like a thing, I mean, let's face it, life is youth, and youth is for the living, you know. And as you get older, you understand that your value system and changes. Where when you were young, it was more of an eye candy approach to who you liked, who you didn't like, or got along with. Whereas your values changes as you get older, and your need changes, but it's not there. The support's not there, and this is what I'm trying to get people. Like my big fear now is if I have to go to a nursing home, I'll be, I don't know if I reject it would be the right word, or I know, or harassed just because I couldn't be myself. Because I know one of the quality things of life being older is I enjoy hugging. I enjoy touching people. Because to me, touching is so important to make you feel like you're connected. So.
Physical touch is very important to me too. Yeah. So I understand. I come from a Puerto Rican family where
and they love to hug. Yeah, well, I have a Puerto Rican friend, and I love her dearly. And so I understand that.
Do you feel that it's harder to maybe find a partner at this age in your life than it was before?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, nobody wants to know for it. Let's face it. No, I'm serious. Again, it's appearance. And if you can't keep up the appearance, as being youthful or, outgoing or active, most younger guys won't have anything to do with you. Yes, there are some clique in their culture that like older guys because of their maturity. Don't get me wrong, they're there, but they're hard to find, so.
Were your partners before at the same age as you, or were they younger or older?
No, actually, he was 17 years my junior. So, yeah, but that was never a problem. We connected right off. We met that stallion there up in Harrisburg. And he was also a married man. And he was on the fence about coming out. And this is one of the issues I would like to embellish on, simply because it's so swept under the cover, not talk about. There are so many married men out there who dying to live their life and not according to their mindset or their mind eyes to their parents or whomever. It's really a lot of unfortunate gay men out there, and women I'm sure too, that are in a situation where they have to appear normal, and they're not. I mean, they're normal in the sense, they're being themselves, but you know what I mean.
So what resources do you think that gay married men and women would need in order to progress and better be integrated into society?
I think it's just a matter of, like they do with the youth, that they have information all out there in the form of pamphlets, in the form of little ads on, magazine or whatever. I think it needs to be something. I haven't quite figured out how to say, like, look, this is a safe house. If you need to come because you're having marital issues or you're unsure of how to come out, come here. You have a friend, or you have a place to be safe. Because even today, especially for older people, it makes me sad to hear stories of their children shunning them because they came out. You know.
So you said that you had material from like a picture that you had in your car?
Yeah, I have a family portrait that I'm very proud of. And you know, that I'm very pleased that they still think of me in that term, because I value that connection, you know, because in a sense it's my legacy, you know. I mean, whether it was intentional or unintentional, it's just the way things work out. You know, and the end result is I have 3 wonderful kids that support me and love me, even though they might not truly understand what I had or go through to be at this point in life, you know. So.
And you expressed that your ex-wife and you now have a better friendship now that
Oh,
you're
definitely. Yeah,
involved?
I admire her and give her a lot of credit for improving my life, because it's in one of those situations you can't play an if game. For example, I was seeing this guy at the time. Just suppose him and I got serious and I lived, you know, with him. Would he have gotten me hearing aid? Would he have gotten me a speech therapist that taught better? Because when I was younger, if you didn't know me, you really didn't understand me too much, because I wasn't pronunciating a lot of my words correctly, because I didn't know how. I didn't realize I was making that mistake. You know, it's like anything else in life. If you're not aware of it, you just don't know, you know. So.
And when you were involved with your partners, the one that was 17 years, your junior, and any of the other ones, did you feel any fear or worry about contracting what was known as like the gay cancer at the time?
Well, with Bill, the one who died of me, no. The only thing that amazes me about that incredible guy was he wanted to hold my hand out in public. He wanted to kiss me out in public, and this was in the early 2000s, and I'm not used to this. You know, I'm saying, okay, somebody going to jump us and, you know, beat us up because we're showing what other normal straight people would be doing. You know, so excuse me, but. No, I'm cautious, yes. When I'm out with my gay friend, we behave in certain ways that we don't go overboard with our behavior. But once we're in a closed environment where we're amongst friends and we can be ourselves, yeah, it's neat, you know. So.
And how long were you with Bill?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I say, I'm not sure that anyhow. When he was dying, we had a really, really deep conversation. And one of the things he toward the end was when we got to talking, when I came out about my marriage and broke it up, he said he wished he had known me back then. And of course, it didn't really click in at the time. But they asked him, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, because I love you so much, I would want to have known you for a longer time. And so, you know, what can you say? I mean, I just lost it then, you know. But, yeah, it was neat.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I haven't been in any situation similar, but I can't imagine how difficult that must have been and still is. So thank you for being willing to talk about it.
It was. I appreciate your empathy. What made it really hard was only very few people at work knew my situation. I couldn't express my anger, my grief, and whatever roller coaster emotion I was going through at the time to anybody. I mean, other than, like I say, my 2 daughters and a couple of close friends, you know. Yeah, it was really, really hard.
And do you feel comfortable speaking at the center about issues that are still concerning you regarding previous relationships or anything
Well,
discriminatory that's happened to you in the past?
since I've been going to the Senior Citizen Initiative program, and I met a gentleman named Joseph Byrne, who used to be a gay activist back in his youth. And he has opened my own eyes, to a lot of issues. But I see him in a different light because he's one of the things I find so hard to understand and I resent is that they treat gay right as a political issue. A lot of people do when they argue about, whatever they want to argue about, because gay issue is a human right issue. And it's bigger than ourselves to be so little that we have to put other people down because they don't agree with their political insight. And I find that so grossly ignorant. So I have verbally forced myself again, put myself out there. Whether people agree with it or not, I don't care. I know I can be wrong in some of my answer to the quest that I'm looking for. Anybody can be wrong. But don't put me down for my belief. Don't put me down because I don't think or conform the way you do. Please accept me for what I am and try to understand me. Maybe we can, work out better. So yeah, I'm more verbal. I notice that when I get older.
No, but I think it's a wonderful thing to be more verbal and to be able to express that, it, in your opinion, is not a political issue. Which
yeah, and without not getting
well.
angry about it. And this is what I resent about the far right as well as the far left, is that they're so closed-minded, they don't want to see the other point of view.
So how would you implement the idea that the gay rights issue is a human rights issue and not a political issue?
Easier said than done, unfortunately. Again, because you can't see the issue, and it's conversational, and it's personal. So it's just a matter of keep pounding, and saying, hey, this is, until some research comes out and says, what they've been saying about genetic, it's true. We're not all born straight. So.
Is there anything that we've missed for the record that you'd like to express?
I probably could ramble on, but no, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity just to do this, because this is my proof that I actually exist. Well, one, and I'm hoping down the road somewhere my children will go onto the website or Facebook and go into the Dickinson College library and look up, me in there. So, in a way, I just hope in future generation they're more acceptant of people being different. Because it's what makes this country so great. That's the one thing I would like to say, especially with the problem we're having with this radical Muslim that we're having now. What made this melting pot of America so great was Italian, German, Polish, you name it, we blended. Yes, we made a mistake of conquering the Indian and stuff like that, but that's all part of history, And you learn to live together, and you learn to accept each other, And I wish the world would just learn that lesson, because if you were able to transport yourself out to the space station and look back to Earth, this is only one Earth, and you blow it, you got to make do with what we have. That'd be my main matches.
Are there any questions that you have for me? Please feel free to ask them if you do.
I probably will 10 minutes from now after the thing's over, but no, it's not off the back of my head.
Perfect. Do you know of any other people that you think we should contact for an interview such as this?
There are so many married men. I wish you could do the news person on the street. Go, for example, to Stallion, go to Brownstone, 701 or whatever, or Auckland Ranch. And like I've been doing, I've been asking for people's stories, especially married guys. Guys been married for 20-some years, and say, what's it like for you to struggle in your life like that? I like for you to, I know so many gay couples who's been together for so many long frickin' years. It's amazing, and like I know a couple who's been together 40 years. They'd be fantastic to interview, just to see what it was like, to being connected for that long, would they do it over again, or, what would they do so different, That's the one question I always ask everybody. What would you do, the one thing you would do so different to change your life?
What would be the one thing that you would do different?
Well, that's an unfair question. Because here's the thing. You can't play if, but if I could go back and if I was 21 again, live my life knowing what I know, but see, here's the point. I couldn't live my life again without marrying again and without having my kids again, because I love my kids that much that knowing that I would have missed that. So somehow, if I could go back, that memory part would be erased. Just to live my life the way I was supposed to live it. Because when I came out, I didn't realize the significance of expressing yourself coming out. It was like a millstone off your back, or a monkey off your back, so yeah, the bit different would be, I would have been gay a lot longer ago, so.
No, I do definitely appreciate you saying that, like, you wouldn't change it because you love your children. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you. Again, if there's anything else that you'd like to say, you are more than welcome to say it.
No,
Okay,
pretty
perfect.
much.
Well, thank you so much for participating in this interview. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I think it's more of an honor for me than it is for you, so really.
You've been wonderful, and I've learned so very much, and I know Michelle definitely has too, and something that you said really did hit home for me when you said that you want your children and your grandchildren to have something of you to look into the Dickinson College Library and see their father and grandfather's name. And even if this wasn't conducted, I don't think that they would forget, or
Right.
that they would need any memory, because you, I know, have affected us so much
Right.
in this interview that I have no doubt that they don't need any writing to remember how awesome you are.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you.